Hey everyone, and welcome to the April edition of our monthly leadership podcast, Leading as Leaders. I'm your host, Avery Nesbitt. Hey, we are joined today by a very good friend of mine. Her name is Calcaño, and she is an administrator at a local elementary school in Lawrenceville. She's actually the principal, and she's joining us today. Gray, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, so listen, normally I do these interviews and I like to be maybe side by side or sitting in the car or even at a restaurant. It's a little different right now. We're all at home. I'm at home, you're at home, and
Yeah.
I'd love to kind of talk about that as an administrator, as a principal at an elementary school. I'd love for you to talk to us today about learning, about the education system, about what's different for you as an administrator, as a leader. What are some of the challenges that you've had to face in this new at-home world that we all live in as it relates to educating our children? What are some of the leadership challenges that you've had to face in the midst of this COVID-19 world?
Well, again, thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure just to have the opportunity to talk to you. But like you said, this is a new normal. It's a new world.
Yeah.
I think, and this is something relatable for anyone, whether you're at home, at a school, at a church, at a business, is we all just have had to find a way to still do business, and we all had to figure it out right away with no manual and no blueprint, right?
Right.
So I think the biggest piece for everyone has been just trying to figure out how to do what you do every day and continue business as normal as possible. For me as a leader, education is such a big component of our lives. And I think, to a certain degree, this has just kind of highlighted that. It has highlighted the fact that families, communities rely on schools to be able to provide that sense of normalcy, and at the same time allowing families to do what they need to do every day. And so from an educational leader perspective, it has been trying to find a way to still, give your teachers what they need in order for them to do what they need to do for students, while at the same time understanding that every household is different. The needs of every child are different. And so, for school in particular, teachers are in the business of teaching and working with children because they love them. So the first thing that we've had to do as a school community is just having those conversations with our teachers, understanding that this, and for some of them, they're dealing with that in their own families, but then they're worried about their students. Right. So that piece has been really important, just talking with teachers, figuring out the ways in which we can still support families, but not overwhelm families. So that balance, right? Yeah. While at the same time, just continuing to be advocates for learning, while at the same time recognizing that families are going through a wide range of different situations. Very so true. It's how do you leverage that? How do you, figure out, okay, we still need to focus on learning, but we also have to focus on the emotional needs, financial needs, and all these different things that are going on with families. So for me as a principal, what I've tried to do is try to give communication as open as possible with my staff, having a clear message, just being available and answering questions. Having a clear plan of action, and as much as possible, trying not to change things midway or bringing them to the table to be part of the conversation of what we need to do. So giving people still that same sense of ownership, that shared leadership, all those different components, because you need if there was ever a time where you need different perspectives, this is it, right? So you need to know where people are coming from. You need to know what they bring to the table, because my experience and the way I'm dealing with it is very different than the 50 something teachers and 100 staff members that I have. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is your number one priority at the school is still your number one priority, educating the children, but now the entire landscape is different. And it seems like
Absolutely.
it's different for every family.
Absolutely. So
How
that's
do
that.
yeah, how do you do that? How do you navigate through, we still got this one mission, but now everyone's in a different place. As a leader, how complicated is that to lead and try to give clarity to?
Yeah, and honestly, I think if I had a full answer for that, I probably could retire after COVID. But I don't necessarily have an answer for that. I think, just like with families, I think, one of the messages that I've tried to give to my staff is it's going to be okay to make mistakes.
That's good.
I don't know if you know any teachers, but teachers tend to be like, the way the teachers said, they were the straight A students for the most
Yeah,
part.
yeah.
So that's a really hard concept for them. But it's just having those conversations. Like if you're having, if right now you have 10 students that are consistently getting online and they're the ones
Hmm.
that are actively participating, focus on that and focus on what you can do.
That's good.
Allowing people to make mistakes, allowing people to have honest conversations in which they share how overwhelmed they are. And
Hmm.
I think that's something for everyone, for all of us,
Yeah.
parents, because it's felt all over. You have parents that, feel like they're failing. Oh my gosh, I'm not doing enough. Or, oh my gosh, now I have to learn, fourth grade all over again. Or,
Right,
and it's
right.
everybody's feeling it. So for me, I think it's just been just having grace and understanding that we're all learning together. There's a learning curve for everyone. Um, so whether you're the leader or you're trying to lead others, just being transparent about
Yeah, that's so good. So from the leader perspective, from the teacher perspective, I feel like I understand a little bit more that maybe that they're trying, they're constantly readjusting, constantly trying to figure out what's next, what works next, for every student. Uh, could you speak maybe from the other side of the table, um, on the behalf of the families, on the parents, that are trying to maybe work from home or haven't looked at this kind of material in a long time. Fourth
that.
grade was a long time ago. Uh, what are some what are some tips? What are some things that we can give to parents to maybe help them as they're trying to adjust to this new normal as well?
I mean, I think the first thing that, obviously as an educator, I'm always going to say, learning is important. But I
Hmm.
think one of the things that we need to do, that I would suggest to parents is, broaden your definition of learning.
Mm.
Learning it's more than just the academics. Take the time to have conversations with your child. Talk to them about what's going on. Even having some kind of conversation about ways in which this is impacting the whole world. I think sometimes for children in particular, this idea of we're part of a bigger world is a hard
Yeah.
concept to get. So, this is a perfect time for that. I think that, yes, focus on the learning and focus on the academics, but don't neglect emotional needs. Don't neglect the importance of having those conversations.
That's really good.
Help children figure this out because this experience is going to help them learn to navigate the world later. And so, as a person, I think one of the greatest responsibilities that we have just as humans is just helping children understand how we are in fact part of a bigger world.
Yeah.
So we have the power of helping children come out of this as as better little humans who will make a better, bigger impact in the world tomorrow.
Right. Yeah.
Because we understand, what I do is going to affect 10 other people and that will affect 10 other
Mhm.
people. You know what I mean? So I think that's amazing. If you're struggling with content, focus on the basics, focus on reading, focus on problem solving, and, focus on communication.
Yeah.
Help your children just be able to express what they're feeling,
Hmm.
talk to them, figure out ways to problem solve. Um, and just like I was saying with the teachers, I think for parents, give yourself a break, you know, give yourself some grace,
Hmm.
figure out what works. And I think sometimes I know I've talked to some other principals and it's amazing how sometimes a parent would, when they're frustrated and calling and hearing it from an administrator saying, just give yourself a break. We know that you're not the teacher. I think that kind of
Right.
like gives people like just an
Yeah,
opportunity to
absolutely.
breathe.
Yeah.
We know that you're not all of a sudden going to be a first, second, fifth, seventh grade teacher, and so give yourself that. Try to, and of course, try to honor the work that the school is providing, but communicate with the teachers, communicate with the school staff if you can, and just share. I'm a little overwhelmed with this work. What can I do? What can I really focus on? And like I said, if you have to focus on one thing, make sure that the kids are reading. Make sure that they are, ask them comprehension questions. There are a lot of studies correlating achievement with the time that children spend reading. That is something that is never going to go to waste. So if you can focus on one thing, focus on that. Give kids an opportunity to explore their own curiosity, find projects at home, give them opportunity to research things that they like, and have them do it in different ways. There's so many different ways that kids can research nowadays. I mean, you can watch YouTube, they can learn something new, they can figure something out. Go back to old school and just playing outside and figuring out ways to do that, provide, and going from the curiosity vein, even with, socializing with other friends, encourage your kids to come up with fun ways to still stay connected with their friends, whether it's through, online platforms, hey, go old school and write letters. You know what I mean?
I got mine writing a letter a week. So I hear
there
you.
You go.
Yeah.
And simple things like, right now you have so many people that don't have the choice not to go to work, like nurses and doctors and pharmacy and even sanitation. I mean, you have people that come to your house every day. Have your kids create posters and put them at the mailbox for the postman, have them do a poster for your sanitation worker. Even if you don't have the funds to, send, 10 letters a week, you can still find ways to support your local community and get the kids involved in that. Please, for everything that, as an educator, this is one big one, have some kind of routine. That's a big one. And even if, and I know that some families, people like to sleep in and you want to, that's fine. It's going to be a struggle when they come back to school, but hey, we still have a few months, right? But if you are one of those that is like, what, this is going to be a no alarm zone, that's fine. But when the family is up, like, make sure that there's some kind of routine, whether it is, and have some quiet time. Kids don't have to be entertained 24/7, because then that creates an issue when you have to go back to a regular school setting where you are going to have structure. So imagine if you're going through 5-6 months of no structure, and then they have to go back to school in August. That's going to be like, the kindergarten who's never been in school,
right?
And so just make sure that you have some kind of routine and that you have some kind of structure so that your kids are not going to struggle that much. Because yes, this seems right now like it's going to be forever, but it's not going to be forever. We're going to have to go back to some kind of normal life in a few months. And school is going to be a part of that for the majority of society. So, have your kids rest, have them some kind of exercise, get them moving. There's so many options right now online and so many ways to kind of stay active, and make sure that they're getting rest. Make sure that, again, even if you're going to bed late, that they're getting enough rest and that they're getting, and just kind of limit, like I said, just the screen time and the entertainment. Be sensible. I know, I get it. I'm not saying that I am anti, screen time, but just having that balance. You know what I mean? Like, and I guess for the biggest thing that I will say for a parent is just remember that they will have to go back to a structured environment at some point. So the further away they are from that, when they have to come back to school, it's going to be a struggle.
That's so good. That is everything you've said. I've seen. We tried to do we'll let them sleep in, and then the next day is even harder. Or the getting outside is kind of shakes the brain off a little bit, and you can go right back to work. Great. This has been fantastic. I knew you had some gold nuggets in there for us. This has been amazing. Thank you for just spending time talking to us as a leader and as someone who is at home with their children, trying to make sure that we do the best that we can. Thank you.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure.
Hey, and for everyone. There will be more available on leadingasleaders.com, some additional content. Hopefully something we've said today helps you as you're leading as leaders. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.